stubborn house owners who refused to move. Lu Baogen.
An elderly Chinese couple that refused to abandon their home to make way for a motorway.
In 2012, a duck farmer named Lu Baogen and his wife became a viral sensation after being the only ones to defy a developer in Wingling, Zhejiang, China. Lu Baogen stubbornly refused to vacate his property to make way for a road being built through the area. All the houses in Lu's neighborhood had been demolished, with homeowners given an undervalued compensation, but Lu stubbornly held out. As a result, he was the only 5-story house with ragged edges standing in the middle of the road that had been built around his home. Lu's house, looking well and truly out of place, became a viral sensation and a perfect example of stubborn homeowners refusing to move. He became known the world over as the duck farmer who said no. They could have said the duck farmer who said quack, but no, it wouldn't have been as funny. Mary Cook. Located in a posh Manhattan neighborhood is the small 19th century home belonging to Mary Cook, who in the early 1900s refused to sell to make way for larger buildings. In the 1890s, Mary Cook's home was part of a larger structure of residential homes built together to make it appear as one. The house at 249 West End Avenue was owned earlier by Joseph Powell, after which it passed on to Mary and her family. In 1915, developers began acquiring homes to demolish and make way for larger apartment buildings. All gave way except for Mary Cook, who refused to budge. Ultimately, the architects had no option but to erect their apartment complexes on either side of her home, making it appear as a relic from the past, squeezed between the pages of the present, and much like an illustration from a storybook. Acker's abode. In 2012, Portland University drew up plans to build a new residence hall in downtown Portland. Their plans hit a roadblock in the form of a nail house belonging to lawyer Randall Acker, whom they asked to move. The 1894 small Queen Anne home belonged to Randall Acker's family for ages. Try as they might, but Acker didn't budge. Acker's home served as his law office. It was a vintage structure and more of a family heirloom, standing as the last building on the block of the southern edge of downtown. Portland University had already drawn up plans for the opening of their residence hall, scheduled for August 2012, but Acker's stubbornness created a problem. Eventually, Portland gave in and ended up building their structure around Acker's home. To celebrate his victory, Acker, inspired by the movie Up, flew 400 balloons to celebrate his victory. Brilliant. Vera Coking.
Vera Coking was an elderly widow who lived for decades in her home beside Atlantic City's boardwalk. She loved that home.
Vera Coking might be just one of the most famous house owners who said no to Donald Trump. Coking lived with her husband in their home at 127 South Columbia Place, which they had purchased for $20,000 in 1961. In the 70s, magazine publisher Bob Guccione offered to purchase the property for $1 million, but Vera said no. Guccione went ahead and commenced construction of the proposed penthouse boardwalk hotel and casino in 1978 that was ultimately torn down due to lack of funds. Soon, Donald Trump wanted to convert the area into a parking lot for limos. Coking once again refused to sell, as she had lived in the house for 32 years. Trump offered her a paltry sum of $251,000, just one-fourth of what Guccione offered Coking 10 years ago. Coking won her legal battle against the now president and lived in the home for 10 years, after which she moved into an old-age home. Her daughter auctioned the house, which was bought by Carl Icahn, the owner of Trump Plaza, who had it torn down. Farmers at Narita Airport. In Japan, protesting farmers refused to give up their land that was located bang in the middle of a proposed new runway of Narita Airport in Toho District. Because of their refusal to relocate, the airport authorities built and used only half of the runway, which is just a stone's throw away from where the farmers live. The farmers living in the middle of a flight path have a narrowing and earth-shaking experience daily as planes thunder across their trembling crops. Large tail fins of jetliners can be seen taxiing across the runway, passing the walls surrounding the farms. Farmers say that there was supposed to be a mutual solution and dialogue, but the airport went ahead to erect and use half the runway. Austin Spriggs. In 2003, Austin Spriggs held out firmly against selling his home to developers intent on converting the entire area on Massachusetts Avenue in Washington, D.C. His small row house became a nail house for developers who ultimately built around it. This resulted in an entire row of large apartment complexes with a small, nondescript one-story house tucked between them. Spriggs was reportedly offered $3 million, but refused to sell. He felt his peeling brick building was worth much more. Ignoring pleas by other landowners that the value of the entire block would suffer because of him, Spriggs held on. Why Spriggs refused was never known, but he refused to be interviewed about it. It was later reported that his house was ultimately sold in 2011 for just $700,000 when he was forced to declare foreclosure. Man, that sucks. $3 million as to $700,000? Oh, what a missed opportunity. Sometimes you just gotta say yes, people.